Okay, so welcome back to Bootstrap 5, Lesson 4 on Developing an E-commerce User Interface, Part 3. We've actually come a long way from Part 1, Part 2, and here we are on Part 3. Now, remember, we are concentrating on the user interface, but this time around, we're using Bootstrap 5. And at some point, we can also get to use some of the built-in functions in CSS. And of course, majority is on Bootstrap 5. So welcome on board, and let's pick it from where we left it on part 2. Now, if you look at this information here, you'll be able to see that there were some things that we tried to work on part 2 and the adjustment of this part. And so far, I've actually made some adjustments and now it's working fine. If I click, for example, just to run, open in browser, now you can see that we have a nice and flowing navigational bar. So at this particular point, I want us to continue. This time around, we want to make the header part because the first part was more of the navigational, and I want us to proceed now on the next part. So for this one, I'm going to have like the header section. So this is like immediately after the navigational bar, what should we have? What should we have? Now, for this particular scenario, I'm going to try as much as possible to also involve or try to involve some bit of slides or slideshows because you have to make or you need to make your site more interesting because the first phase of your website, let's say the home page or the landing page should always be attractive. So at this particular point, I'm just going to have like the header. You can also have like the section. So let me call it the header. That is the second part or the second portion of the web immediately after the navigational bar. Again, on the CSS, we will also come down here and have the same thing. But this time around, we will first engage with the Bootstrap part. And then from there, we can come back to the main CSS file and then we fix. So on starting the first phase, we want to have this element called the header. And with this element called header, I'm going to attach like an ID. And through this ID, I'm going to call it header. So these are ID. You can use ID, you can use class. And I want to use a class here. So this time around, I'm using like the Bootstrap classes. So let me have like the height 100. So I want to have like the carousel. This word sometimes carousel. If I'm right, and then let me call it slide. Now remember, these are just the built-in functions in Bootstrap. Now from here, I want also to attach a function called data bs and ride. And this is actually based on riding the carousel itself. So I'm just going to have the carousel. So these are built-in functions. It's a data, but this time around for this one is going to ride the carousel. Now, when you come to the actualization part, of the carousel itself, remember we are only basing it on, on the slide or the carousel itself, because we want to have either something that works as like the slideshow, that is the right term. So After this, I'm going to have like the slide. Not the slide, but let me just have some styles. Instead of the slide, let me have some style. And this one styles I'm going to have, let me have like padding, just padding top, because sometimes you can use Bootstrap classes, but may not be enough. So you can opt to use just the common CSS classes. So let me have something like 104 pixels. Now, from this point, I've actually assigned some IDs, I've assigned some classes, giving the 100 height, the carousel slide, that is the height of the carousel. And coming down here, I need to have a div. I need to have a div. And through this div, I'm going to act as my container. So when you do container, it's actually a Bootstrap class. It's being recognized by Bootstrap. And then, of course, I want to make the height of the container to be 100. I want to make it flex, like the display should be flex. That means for all the items that should be there. What else should we increase? I want to align items, center. This is how to align using Bootstrap. And then I want to make sure that the carousel stays inner. Here. So from this point, I'm going to have like the div again. And through this div, for example, if you are to run or just to execute what we have so far, right click, open in browser. Now, nothing appears so far because this is the area we want to have the carousel in place. So I'm going to have another div. Now, for this particular div, I want to have a class. Now, this is the div that will contain some information. And I want to make sure that under this div, I want to make the text center. I want to do the carousel item. So this is the carousel item, the items that will appear on the carousel, and let it be active. Now, what are the items? I want to have like H2. And on H2, I'm going to have a class. So this class, I want to make sure that all the text here are capitalized. Capitalize. Yeah, I hope that is the right word. So it means that for this H2, it's going to have like a text which is capitalized. I want also to have the text white. Yeah. And then on this one, we can have some, let's say, text. And if you look at what we had here, probably I can just use some of this. Probably you can talk about collections, you can talk about new arrivals, you can talk about best deals, you can also talk about this information. So for instance, I can have like, let's say, okay, let's say best collection. Let's have like best collection. And then from here, I will have H1. On H1, I will have a class name. This time round, I want to have the text uppercase. And then I want to have the y-axis to be 2. And then I need to make it bold. That is the font weight. Font weight. Remember, for the CSS, we have FW for the font weight and then bold. So this is how to use it when it comes to Bootstrap 5. And then let the text be what? Be white. So for this one, which text should we have here? Probably I can have something like new. We have like new arrivals. New arrivals. Now from this part, I want to have like A for the href. So I want to create like a link. This time down, I don't want to assign anything as because it's not supposed to take us anywhere. But in the actual, if we have to implement other interfaces or other web pages, then we can end up having a reference. So this one, I want to create a class. And then this one is going to be a button. Now I need to have the button empty3. I want to have the text on the button be on uppercase. And then we can talk of, because it's a button, then we can have the completion part, and then I can talk of shop now. Now let's see what is happening. Let's click, open in browser, and now you can look at this. So this is shop now. So this is exactly what I have tried to do here. Now, if I change this white to black, let's see what has happened. Let me change this text to black. Let's see the visibility part of it. Now you can actually look at the way they are. So we have best collection, we have new arrivals. We have best collection, we have new arrivals. It's only that the white, the text color was white, the text color is white. That is why you are not able to view that. Now from this point, because we have the same concept here, then I'm going to copy paste and then bring it down here. And for this one, I'm going to change. So we need to have to maintain the same, the text center, carousel item. This time around, I don't want it to be active. It's only the first one that should be active. I want text capitalized, text black. We can still maintain the same. Then we can talk of, probably instead of best collection, we can talk about the best price. Let's say best price and offer. So you have to be a little bit creative. You can even just use that. Then instead of new arrivals, let's talk of new season. Instead of shop now, we can use a different word like buy now. So if you look at it, we have like nested elements. These two divs are actually nested. So if I save my work and try to reload, let's see what is happening. And of course, if you have to go downwards, probably you can get the same information. But this time around, remember, we had something here called display flex. See, this is for the entire container. Let me So if you look at what we had here, for example, if I do display flex, and now save my project and right click and do open in browser, you'll be able to see that we have only the base collection, your arrival shop now. But this time round, I am not able to see or to view the next the next division or the next div or the next element. Because remember, in the main div, we have two nested divs. But because of the display flex, one of them is not going to be visible because they are now aligned in one line. So if I do remove deflex and save and come back here, you'll be able to see that this one has actually moved up there. So it means that there's something below here. And if I do return the deflex like that, and then come back here and reload open browser, then you can see this one has occupied the middle or the center part of the web page. So it means now that we need to have some sort of the slideshow, because here we are talking about the carousel slide or the carousel, the slide. But remember, we also have this carousel has to have the data right. So how can we go about it? So this time round, we need to create the buttons. because we'll be expected to have some buttons on that particular slide. We need to have some buttons on that particular slide. So in this scenario, I'm going to create a button. And for a button, we can give a class. So this one, I want to have like carousel, control, control ref. So if that is for the previous. For the previous, then I will need to have like the type. Let's be a button. And then again, we need to have like the data -bs target. So for this one, we are targeting the what? This one, we are targeting the hash header. We are targeting the ID hash header. And then again, on top of that, we need also to have the data -bs write equals to, then we have that as ref. Now, having this, below that, we need to have a span. So the span now is going to kind of control. So we want to have an icon because we need to get the icon itself. So you can have carousel, I can console -ref, but this time around, I want to have an icon. So this time round, if I do reload, let me just save my work, right click, open in browser, then we should actually have something somewhere. We'll still apply the colors there. And then let me kind of duplicate. Since we have the carousel control ref, we need to have, because I'm dividing it there, we need to have the carousel control next. So we need to have like two arrows, one on the right, one on the left is for the previous, one on the right is for the next. Because for you to move from one slide to another, you need to have these controls. So for this scenario, without proceeding, probably I can say this is the end of the header. End of the header. And always remember to put some comments. So you can actually say start or header. And then the other one is end of header. So that your code is going to be clear. Your code is going to be as clear as it should. Now, let's go to the CSS part. Let's go to the CSS part and try apply some styles styles. So if you look at the CSS, we are coming now here. And for the CSS, because we have, this is an ID. This is an ID. So most of these are Bootstrap classes. But remember, when I was starting this particular column, I had this head. So here on the CSS, I can start with an hash because it's a what? It's an ID. And from here, I can give like, I want to give like a background image. So in this scenario, I think we're going to create another folder. So I'll come here and create a new folder. I can call it images. So we have this folder called images. Now on the images, we need to have, let's talk of like a background or something like just an image. And this image, we are going to download an image. So remember what our site is all about. So I will go to the browser here and try look for an image. So we can talk about, let's talk about fashion. So, okay, because I've been talking about the best collections, the new arrivals. I can even get a picture of, let's say fashion. fashion images. Let us say fashion HD images. So the internet is too bad on this site. Okay, so don't worry, probably I'll place it. So we have, for example, background. And through this background, I need to have, for example, the URL. And through URL, you have to tell the system that you're going back. Let's say you're going one step back to a folder called images. And then through this folder, you will have the name of the image. Let's say XXX and then .jpg. So once the internet is okay, then I'll be able to download that. And then for this one, I want it to be a top. And then you can have like cover, then no, repeat. Now remember, these are just but common CSS. You remember when you're talking background size, cover or top. Background repeat, no repeat. So still, when I'm using here, I'm also applying or making use of the Bootstrap classes, because this no repeat is similar to background image or background repeat, no repeat. This one is for the background size, cover. This is for the background size, top. So you can still do the same thing. So we will be required to replace the image. If at all, we will end up having an image. And let me see whether we can have, so you can have like fashion store HD images. I think I have an issue with my internet. So we can just proceed. Don't worry about this one. You can replace it. But if I told you have an image, make sure that the image is here. And then you can bring it and place it here. So the next thing is I want to have the carousel. Carousel in. If you remember, we had a class. We have a class called in. If you remember, we have this class called carousel-in. So when you come here, you can have for the H1, because remember, we have carousel, and then we have this H1. You can also have carousel H2 or carousel A. So it depends on how you like to have. So here we are talking about the font size. For the font size, I can apply something like 60 pixels. For the font family, this time down we have like var, but remember we need how to use the variable. So I can talk of hyphen LG hyphen font. So I'm using the fonts. Remember, we had actually specified the fonts here. So it's only me just to capture. So that's what makes that simpler. You don't need to think beyond what you already have. So another one is carousel item. Now, if we go back to the documentation, we have carousel item. There was somewhere about carousel item here. This one, carousel item. Even here, we also have carousel item. So under carousel item, we have a button. So dot button, because that was actually more of a button. So I need to have like the border color. And then through this border color, we have, let me give it like white, and then let it override. Let it override other colors if they are there. And then the last one, I need to have like the carousel item. dot button. This time around, I need to put the hover into bracket. Then I need again to have the border color, and then var into bracket. Then you can have pink. And then again, you can have like text override. Important. So now if you come back and save your work, right click and press open in browser. Now we should have some sort of, okay, let me change for the buttons instead of it white. We want to see these buttons. Instead of it white, let's have it like black. Let me see what happens. So we should actually have some black. So we have buttons. Remember, we have, so we have these buttons here. Okay, then we have, let me see for the title, we have the title. So we have these buttons here. Then we have, so carousel item dot btn. So carousel item, we can iron out. So we have the carousel item. Then we have this for the btn. So btn for the buy now. Now let me get rid of this deflex so that I can view what is happening. Right click, open a browser. Now we can have, okay, let me get rid of the same deflex, then go back and reload. From there, we need to see what is happening. So we must actually have, there's some kind of, white. We have a look at the buttons themselves. So for the button carousel, button header, we go to the same classes. So we have LG. The same thing. If we come down here, bar 00. So for the button color, let me just have something like, instead of it not important, let me keep it red. I want to see what is happening. File, save. Go to file, click save, right click, open in browser. We should actually have some buttons here. So let me try about the image. Let me try about the background image. So since I have an issue with my internet, let's see what I can get. Now, for instance, let me just get a picture. Let's assume that we want to have this picture as part of our background color. So let me just go back, get this picture here. Let me copy the picture. Let me go to Primo. Let me go to images. Let me paste it there. And by the way, let's go to the images. There's this logo. I think we created a different under Bootstrap. And images. Oh, we have this logo already. So let me just go and paste it there. So let me paste it there. So we have this part 3. Let me copy kind of the name, and then I copy the name. Then from here, I'll come to the file, and then instead of PNG, I'll just paste it there and have .png. Now let's have a look at file, save. Now, if we go back to this part, I want to see where we placed the logo. Initially, we had the logo here, like images. So for this scenario, let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at it. Let's click, open browser. Okay. So let's go to main CSS. Let me get rid of this part. But in this scenario, it's more of explaining directly. So I'll just go directly. Right click, open in browser. It's not coming up. So let's go again. So on the other part, let me just capture this image so that we can prove the point. So on the header, I want to attach a style. Okay, the style is already there. And we just have like the background image URL to bracket like that. Let me see what will happen. Okay, so we have this image appearing here. And then I can talk of background. Let's have no repeat. Background repeat, no repeat. Yeah, and then we can also have, this one I'm using background size, cover. Okay, so we have this text here, we have that. Then my carousels are not coming up. So we can prove that the image can actually be hidden. Yeah, so if you look at it, probably for the carousels, what is not happening here, but everything is well catered for as far as the code is concerned. So we have the carousel control preview. We have everything is okay. So carousel control next, type is button. Then you have we have the icon. So the icon is here. Now this one is going to be next. Next icon. The previous icon. Then on the button we have the data, BS data target, that is button. Okay, so let me just make some adjustment here. So we are talking about the data BS target is header. And then the data BS, instead of right, it is like slide. Instead of right here, let me give it as slide. Let me see, save, click, open in browser. So it should actually have the slides. Then the carousel control next. Okay, this one again is similar to this one, so I need to give like next. So you have to make sure if you're copy pasting, then make sure that everything is visible. So it's giving me in white. Let me go to the main CSS. Let's see even the color. Because for the button, so that is the border color with the red. Let me talk of the background color. Background color, red. Because now you're talking about so coming on the button here, let me apply Let me try style, background color, background color. Let me have like that. I want to see where it's falling. If I reload it, now you can see you have this one. If you come to this other side and then you apply like red, again, everything is appearing. So this one should actually be on this other side. So the functionality part of it should actually work because this is what we're targeting. And for this scenario, we have probably something is not right. If you go to the class, you'll get the background automatically is there. So we have the part of the image. We've talked about the carousel inner, H1, 60 bar lang. I've actually talked about the carousel item. I've actually talked about something there. Let me just apply one thing. I want to see whether we have the title in place. So when you do, for example, let me apply one more class. Let me just try one more option. And this one I want to have like the title H2. Now, when you go to the title H2, if you look at it, do we have, okay, first of all, let me find title. Okay. So let me go try one thing. So let me talk about before. Okay, let me have like position, absolute. Let me have content. Let me have the width. Width, let me have like 4 pixels. Let me have the height, 50 pixels. Let me have the background color. Let's say var, and then hyphen pink. Left, negative 20 pixels. Top, we have 50 pixels. Top, we have 50 pixels. So if you look at it, so I'm going to try here. Now we have WebKit. A little bit of transform. This one I want it to be translate y into brackets negative 50%. We have ms and transform. Translate y 8.50%. And the last one is transform, translate into brackets negative 50%. Let me look at it. What is happening? I click open in browser. So this time round, I'm going to try it. So something is not right here. So based on the information that we've had so far, you can actually see the functionalities part of the Bootstrap, and even how to place these carousels in place. And for this scenario, it will force me now to have the last part, which is actually part 4. And this time round, I'll end up implementing, ensuring that I implement it correctly. So for this scenario, you don't need to have this style, but it was actually one way of showing that we have the carousel controls. So the carousel controls. So if I just reload, then it will come back. So for the carousels control, you may not be able to see. At the same time, probably due to the internet issue, you may not be able even to download one of the images so that you can place it there and at least work around it. So remember some of the functionalities Bootstrap sometimes depends on the net, and probably that could be the issue. So see you on part 4, which is going to serve as our final Bootstrap 5, lesson 5 on developing an e-commerce user interface. So thank you, and see you on that particular part.